What's going on, YouTube? It's the Tempest again. I finally got to update this deck for you guys. I think it's really, really good right now. It's my Spike Brothers deck. The break card just came out in set 10, and it does so much for the deck. So I figured I'd give you guys an updated build. I really like where my build's at right now. I feel like there's a lot of options you can play, and I'll try and go over those. Yeah, I'm gonna get into it. So, starter is Mega Trainer. Honestly, I really think Bushiroad goofed on this card. Um, Basically, what they did was, what he does is when during your main phase, you can counterblast one and retire him to search for any grade 1 or lower spike for this card, which is really good, don't get me wrong, right? But, like, you know, he's basically played in every spike for his deck for consistency's sake, and, like, there's so many other, like, good options, like, you know, and then this set, they released a new starter for them, which is Reign of Terror Thermidor. And what he does is, when he boosts his Spike Brothers, that unit gains 3k, but then it goes back to the deck after it attacks. So he's like an 8k grade 0, basically. Um, and what he does is he's just really good during that final, he's really good at that final turn play. So, but honestly, this card is really good. If you're playing Spike Brothers, you want to play this card because it's a great consistency card. I just feel like Bushiroad kind of goofed up when they made this card because now nobody's going to play stuff like Thermidor, which is actually really good. We're playing, for triggers, we're playing 8 crit, 4 of this one, the vanilla one, and then 4 of the this one here, which lets you unflip damage for putting into your soul. You don't really need the damage unflipping in this deck. In other builds, you might need it, but not in this one. 4 draw triggers, and then 4 heals. Yeah. Honestly, with the break ride, I found that I actually really, really like the stand triggers now, because they let you stand your grade 1 boosters, and they let you make a lot stronger attacks. Because normally, a stand trigger will give you an extra 2 or 3 stages of power in this deck, and I don't know why everybody's like wailing on them. The reason I'm not playing stand triggers is because I have a grade 1 lineup that they're all really techy. I'll explain it later, but basically stand triggers don't work for me in this deck. But for a lot of other builds, they do work if you're playing Gary Canyon or the Dudley Dudley Daisy or Medical Manager, like all those kind of like grade ones that just stay on the field. Stand triggers might be an option for you. So, and in that case, I might suggest you play stand instead of draw triggers because it's really, really aggressive to do it like that. Alright, for grade 3s, I'm playing 4 Bad End Dragger. This is the break ride. When you break ride him, your Vanguard gains 10k, and every rear guard gets 10k when it attacks, but then it has to go back to the deck after it attacks. So, there's a lot of plays you can do with this card. And another card, which I'll show you later. But he's like one of the best break rides in the game. Basically, on your turn, you can swing for guaranteed 5 3-stage columns, if not maybe like 2 5-stage columns. And basically, if your opponent has a huge hand size, you're going to win that turn. And if you don't, you're basically screwed. So try to win the turn you play this card. And then next we got 4 Dudley Emperors. I'm not actually playing Juggernauts in this build. I'm just gonna max on the grade 3s. I was looking around the internet looking for different options for builds, and basically, what I came to the conclusion was the deck's final turn play is strong enough without the Juggernaut grade 3s. So I may change the build, but right now it feels pretty good where it's at. So anyway, Dudley Emperor really helps you finish your final turn plays. He lets you put 2 cards from hand into soul and counterblast 2 to get 2 units. And those units are also affected by the break ride, so those ones you call out will also gain 10k and go back to the deck. So you basically just need to get 5 attacks in one shot. So it's pretty good. I'm basically maxing him because even if you don't get the break ride, you want him to be your main Vanguard at the end of the game. So yeah. Grade 2 is you're playing 4 Dudley Mason. This card is amazing. It's basically a Vivian for Spike Brothers. When his attack hits, you can counterblast 1, and then put a card from hand into soul, and spirit call any Spike Brothers from your deck, grade 1, 2, or 3, or 0. So, yeah, he's really good. I suggest maxing him because he's a great turn 2 ride, and he's great late game. So basically, what you can do with him is use him to apply pressure, because with the break ride, he'll be swinging for 19, and then, yeah, with the break ride, he'll be swinging for 19. So if your opponent like wants to block this, they can, but if they're incapable of blocking it, then you just got another free attack over here after twin drive. That is also affected by the break ride. So he puts on a lot of pressure with turn baby break ride, because he has a potential of getting out an extra unit for you. Now I really like him as a rear guard, the Mason I mean. So one of the reasons I'm playing, not playing stands, because there's a grade 1 that lets you swap it out after it boosts. So I'm playing that instead. I'll get into that in a bit later. The next grade 2 I'm playing is 3 Field Driller. He's basically your backup turn 2 ride. When his attack hits the Vanguard, if you have 4 more Spike Brothers rear guards, he lets you draw a card basically. So if you don't have Dudley Mason, you can play him, help him apply pressure. And mid late game, he's a 17 swing with the break ride, and it lets you hit for really big numbers, and guarantee that you get the draw in, basically. So he's not one of those cards where your opponent's going to want to guard him, and if they can't, well, that's going to suck. So yeah. Now there are other options. You can play Charging Bill Collector, which is in, I actually have a whole bunch of other options sitting right here. I really like Field Driller because he helps you put pressure in, helps you draw cards. You can play this guy, the Charging Bill Collector. If you have a Vanguard with Limit Break, he'll be swinging for 11, which is always good. And all the Vanguards in the deck have Limit Break, and there's no Juggernaut, so he's pretty good. You can play this guy, Black Panther. He's just standard 10k vanilla. You can play him instead if you want to. And you can also play General Zachary. General Zachary is a 9k. When his attack hits, you get to Soul Blast 1 and draw 1, and then he goes back to the deck. So he's arguably better than Field Driller late game, but mid game, Field Driller is still better because Zachary forces himself to go tag back into the deck, whereas Field Driller could stay and play and act as an or something. So yeah, those are basically your other grade 2 options. There's another card called Blow Kiss Olivia. When her attack hits, you can Soul Blast 2 to kill a rear guard, and then put her back to the deck. It's okay. I don't like it personally because it's a really high cost, but you know, that's just me. And then the last grade 2 that I'm playing is 4 High Speed Bracky. You basically need this card in every Spike Brothers deck now. He swings for 14 by Soul Blasting 1, but then he goes back to the deck. And with a break credit 24 on his own, so he's basically your card that you need to play. You need to play him and push really hard with him when you break ride, and then just get out 2 of them after you use the input phase. Alright, so that's the grade 2s, and then for grade 1s, I'm playing 4 Wonder Boys. He's just an AK vanilla, but really what you do with him is put him behind your Vanguard. Because the Vanguards will always be swinging for 13. They're boosted by Spike Brothers, so that's 21k boosted by this guy. And then I just put him behind your rear guards and help him hit for huge numbers. So that's about it. He helps your Field Drillers hit for 15 as well, which is really nice. I got 4 Reckless Express. This is your backup Bracky, basically. He's a grade 1 7k attacker, and you can Soul Blast 1 to pump him up to 12k, and then return him to the deck. So, if you're missing a Bracky, you can use this guy instead, doing that final turn push, or what have you. The next card is 2 Deadly Phantom. This guy is a new card, and I actually really like it a lot. It's a 6k, but when it boosts Spike Brothers rear guard, you can give that unit 4k more, and then he goes back to the deck. So when you have grade 2s like Field Driller or Mason that you really want to hit, you can just toolbox the Phantom with a Mason or like a even your starter, and then put that behind one of these, and that's swing for 17 or 19. So if you get that turn 2, that's really hard to block. if you get that even turn 3, it could be hard to block depending on what your opponent's Vanguard is. So it's a lot of pressure, and especially if you have this guy boosting a Mason, since he goes back to the deck, his ability is kind of getting the minus of him even out because he's going to give you a +1. So I really like Dudley Phantom, and another reason I like him is because you have Dudley Emperor on your Vanguard circle. Let's say you have the ideal play would be to have like 2 Recklesses, or like a Reckless and a Bracky. So let's say that you have this as your field setup. This would be your ideal play. Let's say you don't have this. I mean, because normally what you want to do is you want to get these 2 front rows out of the way, and then just call out 2 more or whatever, and then swing with 5 attacks. Let's say you don't have that though. Let's say you have a Reckless and you have a Dudley Mason. Dudley Mason isn't going to be able to do anything because he doesn't toolbox himself. So if you don't get the break right, what you can do with Emperor is pull out a Dudley Phantom to put behind him, and that way instead of having your grade 2 or grade 1 toolbox out, the booster will toolbox out instead of the grade 1. So that can help you mid game get more attacks in. It's not amazing, but what I say is it works, right? And it really helps you with the Mason because that lets you hit for a 4th attack. This guy goes away, and then you can use Mason to call him back again. So it really helps with your options. I think Dudley Phantom is a great card and shouldn't be overlooked. And then the last card I play is 4 perfect cards. I like the old art better than the new one, honestly, and I just think it's you need to play 4 in Break Ride meta. You can make the argument that for this deck you could get away with only playing 3, but because it is a rush deck, if you don't win by turn 4, you're basically screwed. But if they break right before you do for some reason, or if they pull off Descendant's ability, or I don't even know, right? But like having 4 perfect guards is really good for consistency because it lets you draw into them easier. Even if you have a starter that can toolbox them out, you usually want to grab other things for that starter. So there is one other thing I want to mention really fast. One card I'm not playing, but I could be playing, is this guy, Dudley Dan. He's a really old spike for this card, but he's still considered to be one of the best. When he boosts the Vanguard, you get to counterblast 2 and put 1 card from hand into soul, and then get any spike for this card. It doesn't have to hit, it just has to be boosting. So if you manage to get stuck break riding a dragger with another dragger, Dudley Dan can sometimes help you with the final turn push, because like I said, if once you break ride, you want to try to win that turn. So what you can do is if you do have Dudley Dan behind your Vanguard here and you break ride it, Dudley Dan can be used to get that 4th attack in. If you have a Mason, you can go Dan into Mason and then swing with Mason and then go maybe Mason into another card. That's 3 counterblasts and like 2 cards from hand, but it'll probably be worth it to get the 5th attack in because you're gonna have nothing left. And if you try to break ride Dudley Emperor after that, you're gonna have like 2 more counterblasts. So you're gonna be able to use Dudley Dan once, or you're gonna be able to use Emperor once more. So yeah, that's just one thing that you can think about because you're not always gonna break ride Emperor on this. Obviously, break riding Emperor on Bad Dragger is the optimal play, but you aren't always gonna have that happen. You're gonna have the break ride and break ride sometimes. And so in that kind of situation, Dudley Dan is a really good grade 1. If you play him at all, I play him as a 1-of because you can search him out with a grade 1. But yeah, I don't really play him just because I think the Phantom is a better choice. But there is always that situation when you break ride, and then that Dudley Dan is very helpful. So yeah. Alright, well I hope that was helpful for any Spike Bros players, and hope you could probably catch what all I was saying. Yeah, if you have any questions, be sure to comment. If you have any suggestions, also be sure to comment. I take lots of suggestions and I'm testing different things. If you like the video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. I will be probably doing some Shadow Paladin deck profiles around the time set 12 comes out, and definitely some Dimension Police and Grand Blue deck profiles once set